Hello everyone, greetings each one of you. I hope you're doing good. I greet your name in peace, truth and love. Once again, we're back here to the podcast series, Rtn Kiwatule, Club of Kiwatule and the Uganda Counseling Association, as well as MindLyfe Limited. My name is Kawekwa Douglas from MindLyfe Limited, and MindLyfe is a web and mobile application enabling people to access and have professional mental services wherever they were at any time, anywhere. So I'm glad we have a couple of guests today. Once again, I'm going to request each one of them to introduce themselves, speak about what they do and where they're from, and any message before we get into our discussion about your employees' mental health. Yes, Stella, starting with you.
Good morning. My name is Stella Kasozi. I am a criminologist by training, and I also run an NGO called Thrive Community Empowerment that focuses on the disadvantaged.
Thank you. Yes. Sorry.
My name is Olukayode Osunsan, but everybody calls me Olu. I call myself Olu as well. I work with a company called Logix Technical Solutions. We're a powerhouse providing systems integration in the technology space.
Wow, you're an employee. Good to have you. Yes, Evelyn.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Evelyn Connie Kharono is my name. I work with Makerere University as a counselor for students and staff, but I'm also a member of the Uganda Counseling Association and serving as the vice president. I also run a private practice of that gives individual and group therapy called Samotherapy Counseling Foundation. Thank you.
To you, Madinah.
Yes, I'm Madinah Ismail. I'm a counseling psychologist, a member of Uganda Counseling Association, and I also run a private practice called Be Well Therapy, Stroke Professional Counseling Uganda.
I'd like to start with Stella. Who is an employee in your view? What do they mean by an employee, from what you think?
I suppose an employee is someone who's going out to work, who's earning a living. Whether you're earning it, are you self-employed or you are working for someone, in our view, you are an employee because that's what you wake up to do, to go out and earn a living.
That's good. Mr. Lu. So does it mean like as a business owner, you're also an employee to your business?
Absolutely. I was actually listening to what Stella was saying, because it depends how your business is structured. I'm sure you've heard of the word GM, General Manager, MD, Managing Director.
Sure.
Which means you might be a director in the business, but you're also an employee, which is why you draw a salary pay from that.
Wow.
As opposed to being a business owner who sits on the borderline and just not involved in the daily process.
Yeah,
right? So you are an employee as well.
Oh, that's interesting. I was reading, I found a statistic from the American Psychological Association saying that women are twice more prone to facing or having mental ill health. That is 19.8% as per men, who are at 10.9%. I'd like to ask Madinah, why do you think women are more prone to facing more mental ill health? Especially in the workplace, because this is mainly in the workplace.
Oh, okay. So I think it derives from our backgrounds, the way we were raised. Men are raised to be tough human beings, and women are supposed to probably to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Yeah. So compared to how men and women are raised in the society, it all starts from there. So women are vulnerable. Women are kind of people who are vulnerable to each other, who can have groups and who can easily, they can easily share their concerns or their problems to one another. But men, they're brought up in a timid way that a man is supposed to be a man, He's supposed to be strong. A man is not supposed to cry, And a man is supposed to be a man. So you find a way that mental illnesses come in they uphold the women more because they actually they were raised a little bit in a weak way. Yeah. That's how I find it. It comes from the background.
The background.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Evelyn, what do you think is any supplement to that?
Yeah, just supplement from what Madinah is saying. The vulnerability. Women are more vulnerable given the fact that they have, when it comes to bargaining power, the power of women. And it's interesting that the statistics is coming from APA, so meaning that these were American women. I would have said that the African woman in Africa has a very low bargaining power, so they are prone to having bad relationships at the workplace. Usually there's a bit of inequality. A woman might be a mother, having a small child, thinking about how the child is faring well, but she's also a wife, and then she's also a worker. And then, so the multiple duties expected of a woman are so much. I know men work much harder, as it's said, but then men, I think they are created in a way that they do one thing, and that's what they maintain. They may not be thinking about what is happening home. When he's at workplace, he will not be saying, I don't know if my baby has eaten food. I don't know if the maid is looking after this baby well. But the lady will be saying, oh my God, I don't know how my baby is. If the baby is sick, whether you're working, you're the one supposed to nurse the baby. If the man is sick. So I'm thinking that it's a lot expected from a woman. And yet at the same time, the bargaining power is low. And then the society is quite patrilineal. So all these things expose women more to men.
To higher maintenance. Actually, Stella, because that's what I wanted to bring about more in regards to last week we lost a key person from this in marketing industry, and one of the comments in one of the groups was that someone shared, why is it we don't hear of women committing suicide? And then in this aspect, like as per what Madinah and Ibn are sharing, so men are also going through a lot of things. Either it will be an employer or employees, but we don't quite get to know like what they're facing, how things are, what kind of experiences they're having. So what do you think? What does that mean for us? Like, especially now, this as Uganda as a country.
Indeed. We know that men have issues of mental health, but I'm not certain whether the statistics reflect that. Mm-hmm. When you try to understand the statistics and try and reflect on them a bit more, you find that some of the data does not actually take into account mental health issues that men face. In a sense, what you think, how a man perceives mental health is not exactly how a woman perceives mental health.
Yeah, sure.
So when you're as an interviewer going in and asking questions regarding mental health, are you suffering from mental health? It's very easy for a woman to say, yes, I'm super stressed, and I'll record that. Yes, you're super stressed. It's very hard balancing my children and family and work, and I'll record that, and all these issues will come up in the data. When a man is asked, his view of the world is simply to say, okay, I need to present myself as someone who's holding fort, who's doing a good job. So I think partly what Madinah raised around the way we're raised ensures that the data doesn't reflect what is happening to men. Yeah. They're also going through enormous stress. They have loans they've taken out to support these families. Yeah. They have multiple issues around an empowered woman next door to them who they're raising a family with. Yeah. There's a lot of other things going around, but I don't think that comes across in the data. So sometimes I question some of these statistics that say that, that there's only women suffering from having a mental health crisis. Yeah. I think actually there's an issue that men are undergoing, and that information does not come across.
Sure, and there's a quote that I read that I follow bad, like, there are 3 types of lies: statistics, lies, and told lies. So I also don't really fully go with the statistics, like what you're saying, because there are gaps in there, as we were discussing prior. I would like to ask you, Olu, like, what is happening? So that means you at the workplace. How are men facing this and handling in here? How are they showing these symptoms? Like, someone is stressed. Okay, we know about absenteeism. What, from your experience, from what you're seeing at the workplace, at the company Logics?
Well, before I jump into that, just want to throw my hat in this discussion of I actually believe that because of the way women are brought up, it actually strengthens their emotional self much more than the men. It might look like they're more fragile, but it's actually strength.
But they can easily vent out and share.
That's what I call soft power. Yeah. Women are more communal. Yeah. They're able to engage with one another. So that's unspoken therapy right there.
Yeah, exactly.
So your question about why don't we hear more women jumping out of the window and stuff like that? Yeah. I mean, I know this is a hard topic because suicide does happen,
Yes.
whether it's jumping out the window or using a weapon or whatever it is. Largely, it happens to both sexes,
Yes.
but it's true it's more prevalent in men because women are able to engage in soft therapy, which men are not.
Which I mean, I know, yeah.
And most men bottle things up until it erupts as a volcano, and it's too late by then.
Yeah, sure.
There's competition. The way men have been built, we have to compete with one another.
True.
Women are more engaging with one another. So that leads to part of this mental health discussion issue.
Yeah.
So in the workplace, it's the same thing. You'd find most men would bring this to the office space. A man would probably hold his issues to himself. And when we do meet with our so-called buddies, we're still not totally open to them.
Yeah.
We just meet in the bar, drink, or whatever it is, and try and find a way to express or diffuse whatever it is, but we're not verbally engaging. As opposed to if you had like women's night, for example,
Yeah.
the kind of conversation and things that would happen in there will be all fun, but gradually it's likely to lead to, oh, by the way, guys, I'm having this marital issue at home. A guy's never going to talk to his friends that give a crazy example that my wife beat me up yesterday, because they're all going to laugh at him. Mm-hmm. So even if it does happen that he's getting hammered by his wife or he's the terrorist at home, he will not put that to the table. We'll laugh about it, jest about it, and move on. And he's got no solutions. Like Stella just mentioned about the loans. A lot of guys will not put on the table because it's a real key issue. You can't even discuss with your wife. Imagine you've taken a loan, you have 80 million shillings around your neck. Who are you going to discuss it with? Even the atmosphere to begin with. In a bar, which is where most guys meet.
Sure.
So it's not conducive for that kind of interaction.
Sure.
And so, yeah, fortunately, we men need to, well, that sounds like women, not women. We, the man, need to reassess how to actually have true brotherhood. Yeah. And that brotherhood entails conversation.
Yes, true. And from what you're saying, yesterday I was having the podcast with the Morning Tide Bugolobi, and we're discussing about mental ill health in the modern society. And I was sharing with them about mental health doesn't exist. And I was giving the reasons that mental health has been there. Mental ill health has been there even in the African traditional society, whereby it was more of community. It's all about us. Like what one of the things you're sharing, like sharing out and being able to vent out. On that aspect today, it's more individualistic and people are keeping it to themselves and it's hurting them so much. I would like to, because now today, like still something else I came about was we lose 12 billion working days in a year because of this problem. This could be through absenteeism, presenteeism, or low productivity, and there is accidents and errors because someone is not okay at the workplace, so they're not really giving their best. So regards to with that, what are the kind of let me use the word common, but the usual mental illnesses like Madinah and Evelyn you've gotten from the clients you've met? Like what are most of the issues you've people have come in to share with you, to report to you?
Well, so thank you for that question, Douglas. For one, I meet different kinds of people, young, middle, and old. So, but the most presenting issues that people come with, the younger they are relationship issues, either relationship with a spouse, a boyfriend, or a workmate, or someone they live with, and then chronic stress, and anxiety is very common. This includes, anxiety is very broad. People have phobias, but also depression. Yeah, you meet cases. Of course, depression has levels, but at least you meet someone having maybe mild to moderate depression, and then maybe severe once in a while, and very many other issues. But the commonest would be
that's to the young ones,
anxiety. Even the young ones suffer depression, they suffer anxiety. The causes are quite many, because I may not say it's only because of them being young, but some of these things are coming from families.
True.
Most of mental health issues come from the family. People who have come from dysfunctional families, and maybe they have missed out on certain things, cognitive, developmental areas. that they should have got when they were young. They've not maybe learned how to relate well, but also the pressures of the world. I mean, the workplaces have their own pressures, the economy itself, all these things can put people under different mental health issues. Yes.
Have you had any top executives also come in with regards to the same
Top
process?
executives. Yes, I do meet even celebrities, those who are willing to, it takes boldness for someone to say, I think let me step in and go for counseling. But these top executives usually would love to come in a very camouflaged way. They would love to come in a place whereby no one sees them coming. Someone may even try to cover maybe their face, so really disguise. So we're still having issues with stigma around mental health because people think having mental health is really shameful or it shows you're weak. But I think many times we've said we all have mental health. We are all candidates of mental health issues because our mental health can change at any time. Like it's not that it's dedicated to those who are poor. Mental health doesn't discriminate.
Madinah, how about you? Yes.
Yeah,
from experience.
Yeah, from experience. The 3 years I've been as a counselor, the major one I would say is depression. It's the major one because it comes from a lot of things, relationships, the uncertainties, the loneliness. So the major one I would say is depression. And when the clients come in, they actually they have gone through this for a long time and they do not know how to handle certain things. And then when you assess them, you just generally after assessing them, you just know that it's depression. So it comes from relationships, the financial stress, the loneliness, the what are these called? The drugs, addictions. Yeah. So they all in all, it's depression. Yeah, majorly it's depression.
Wow.
Yeah.
We've gotten to know most of the usual mental illness or disorders are happening with the people in the workplace. So, Olu and Stella, I would like to ask you, how today do you see in the workplace, how are measures, what is happening in the workplace regards to support system or companies, the workplace, bring environment for people to be able to share how they feel. Today, what's actually happening today right now? What do you see?
Well, I suppose it's about the sort of employer you are. And a good employer will look out for the mental health of their staff and their employees. I think a good employer, first of all, has to focus on the law. And what does the law say about, say, things like discrimination? And because like in Uganda, actually, we have very good laws. That's something we're very good at. Putting it in practice is another matter, but, in terms of drafting our laws, we are quite good. So it will be very clear that, someone disabled will not be discriminated, try and meet them halfway. It will be very clear in the law, in terms of the law. You will allow someone to take leave if they've had a child. All that is covered in the law. But in practice, if someone is being discriminated, if they're worried that they'll lose their job now that they are heavy with child, they're worried about whether they won't be accommodated if they want to breastfeed. All these are the things that bring stress and bring on then further into the issues that Madinah and Evelyn shared with us, because because the law is in place to try and protect the vulnerable. Okay, so that's what, as an employer, you start with. Then you also go on and, depending on the size of the organization, you can do things like having mental health champions in the workplace. So you want your staff to know there are people available, maybe every Thursday from 10 to 11. There's someone in a room somewhere downstairs that you can go and chat to if you want to. The point is that they're available.
Sure.
And they're advertised, and that information is known in the organization that Madinah or Evelyn are going to be downstairs. If you want to go and have a chat, please do. It's a simple thing, but it means that someone who's feeling the pressure knows that, let me pop in and just have a chat with you. I won't say much, but because they're professionals, they know what to do with you when you pop in.
Confidentiality, yeah.
So providing those options for employees. And it's about, at top level, the board deciding that this is important enough for the organization to fund and ensure that our employees are supported. It's those simple steps you take as an organization.
True.
And then, I know Olu will have a little bit more to say about it, but then the other thing is, obviously, if it's a big organization, you have to ask those managers, those lower grade managers, to have regular conversations with the staff they manage. So if you see someone is coming in very late, is absent quite a bit, or if they're staying at work until 8 o'clock and the organization tends to close at 5, 6, then there's a conversation to be had.
Yeah.
And how are you? How's family? How are the children? It's encouraging those conversations as part of your sort of quarterly conversations with your staff that you have as a manager.
Yeah.
So those are the simple things you can try.
It's a harmony for them to actually vent out, share.
But mainly, really giving that option in the workspace to deal with mental health as an issue. Olu.
Well, look, I like to pride myself as someone who's a realist.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, when we sit here and talk about mental health in the workplace, we describe the workplace as businesses such as MTN, Stanbic Bank, and this huge corporation. They're there. But the fact remains that in the context of Uganda, SMEs are collectively the largest employers. And that means you have businesses which has 3 employees to 15, 20, 25, something like that, still falls as an SME. So they're not that big enough to have mental health, HR department, or this kind of stuff. It's just Joe Blow trying to get a business going.
Sure.
His primary focus is the bottom line. You're running after your URA issues and all that kind of stuff. Sure. And sometimes dealing with juggling all that, an employee, like Stella says, starts going home late. You probably don't see it because you've left from X office to go home. So the interaction or the observation is not there because of the manpower or the size or the other general stress that is within the workplace. Yeah. But that's not an excuse. Again, where I work at Logix, it's very, very important to me that the workplace needs to be akin to where we check up and care about one another. And that might sound like, Olu's here in the studio just making up stories. I can tell you our retention is one thing that speaks to staff being comfortable in the workplace. It's not about how much you pay, because I know we don't, unfortunately, we pay what we can, but it's definitely not top of the line. I'm sure if any of the staff is watching, I was like, whoa. So, but it's not the actual cash.
Yeah, true.
The other thing which brings mental health issue into the workplace is actually not just necessarily the work environment itself. Remember, these are human beings. They are bringing to work whatever problems they have externally. And that's actually now a big issue in the workplace itself. You've had a fight with your spouse. Oh gosh, I almost just said some word I don't think I'm allowed to say. I caught myself right there. So you bring that to work. It impacts how you work. Your line manager or whatever it is sees that. They also get fired up and tension is created and you start to soil the work environment. So there is not a one solution, one hat fits all kind of stuff. And there's only so much engagement sometimes you can get even within the workspace. Because remember, as the clock ticks, the bottom line needs to be met. So I'm just explaining the challenges, but it's true. Let's find time to talk and interact, which I believe we try to do the best we can.
True.
But again, it goes back to this male and female dynamics. You realize it's easier to engage a female staff about whatever issues are happening within the workspace, or she's bringing from home to the workspace. But guys, it's easier to engage them on issues within the workspace. But issues that bring to the workplace, it's very hard for a guy to open up with you about that.
Yeah, always right around the issue of the fact that the companies are different. So you have a lot of SMEs that are, relatively small, and they're just trying to hustle along and make a buck. At the same time, you have these bigger organizations. The point is, I think, you meet them at their point of need. So if you have these big organizations, let them do something.
Yes,
you know?
yes,
You
yes.
have big organizations like NSSF, MTN, or UPDF. These are big organizations. They can't afford to put in mental health champions and do what they need to do. Then maybe the issue then is to find solutions for the smaller SMEs. What can they do? What can the managers think about that can work with, within the restraints they have?
Yes.
So maybe it's just saying, you know what, on Wednesdays, I know we're very, very busy, but we'll just have an hour of exercise. Whatever it is you can do at work, those small, some forward creative organizations like this, I'm sure can sort of say, you know what, let's pop down at lunchtime today, 30 minutes, we'll just do some aerobics. And you think it's fun, but they're trying to create a space for people to manage their mental health in the way they can. So it's not costing them money, but it's coming up with those small methods that can have impact on someone's health.
Sorry if I may just
sure,
jump
sure.
there because she just tickled my brain cells. That's fantastic, and it is true. For example, our HR manager has just kind of like discussed and said, you know what, can we have maybe if it's once a month or even once every 2 months, because it's still money at the end of the day, where we have a fitness day, and this is an avenue to discharge stress. But again, you need to remember, fitness is not the go-to first stuff for most people in our environment, but it has its benefits.
True.
Apart from logics, my wife and I run a not-for-profit organization called CSCA, which is founded on sports, because I do enjoy sports myself, and we do skilling and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And free of charge, by the way. But the interesting stuff is within the local communities where people are less privileged and stuff. When we started out, I was just shocked to realize, after having gone through the LC and talked to people what's available and all that, like 300 people showed up. And to my shock, out of the 300 people, there were like 25 men, mostly all women.
25.
Hairdresser, this. So sometimes we need to have, maybe if SMEs can't afford to have an in-house therapy or whatnot, let's imagine there's an NGO or something like, almost like FIDA. You know how women have FIDA, you can go to and say, save me, I live with a terrorist kind of stuff. If we had some sort of because that's what it is. You live with a terrorist, you need help. If we can have maybe an NGO which is geared towards mental health, and SMEs can subscribe to that, and the staff is made aware that you can go to X organization because we can't afford to do it, and they can help. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it's that signposting for the employers and saying, but you have to be able to signpost someone who you know has a problem and say, Douglas, I was thinking, why don't you, there's a fitness organization running this. He'll understand why you're doing that. Maybe you don't want to have a conversation with that man, but it's signposting them towards that. But it's thinking about, these conversations help think about that space as an SME, if you're listening and your manager there, and you're thinking, yes, I have 10, 12 members of staff. I can't afford to bring in a psychologist to talk to them. I don't have time. But what is it that I can do? Actually, you can talk to your staff. Sometimes they can come up with a better solution than we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. So.
What? That's a terrorist story?
No, sorry.
It's very
Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
No, I mean, that's a fact that people don't realize. Just imagine. Sorry, big graphic, but you're being terrorized at home as a woman.
But the word terrorism, just the more you say it, the
You're
more.
being terrorized at home, or the man is being terrorized by the woman. But the bottom line is your spouse is terrorizing, and there is no one to turn to. Do you know who you turn to? The same terrorist. That's
nowhere else to go.
insane.
Sure.
That's a definition of insanity, because you can't talk to the guys at the workplace. The only person who's supposed to be closest to you is the guy inflicting this
the same pain.
All the
terrorist.
fixing that.
the guy or the woman, whoever. But my point is, if we have an avenue where this can be opened out, talked about, dissected. I mean, sadly, you made mention of the two, because there are two prominent cases that happened recently of suicide being committed. And it really pains, because I believe suicide can be avoided.
True.
But it can never be avoided without being known.
Exactly.
And most of it happens because nobody knows.
Sure.
So it's something done in secret.
Exactly.
It's you You crawl up in a dark corner. You can't open up to people. So that's when it happens. Most of those who are closest to you are really impacted and say, oh my gosh, how did I not know? Why did I not engage? So they're actually left with a bag of guilt. Because as human beings, we would love to carry guilt around, justfully or not just. But so you start to ask yourself, how did I miss that? I met that guy last time, we talked, I even made him pay for my drink. We start to carry a whole bunch of guilt, which is why when we meet one another, this nonsense of saying, how are you? It's just capital BS.
True.
Just say hello and hi and get over with it. Only say, how are you, if you really want to know how someone is.
Exactly.
Because right there and then we can get into an extrapolation of conversation of how you really are.
Yeah.
Don't see me on the roadside and say, hey, Olu, how are you? In the middle of the road? I'll just tell you, fine. But I'm dealing with bag and sacks
A
of
lot of
drama.
things, true.
So we all have a role to play.
That's true, actually. Because actually on the call yesterday, it was the same, someone was asking, like, how would we get to know people going through all these issues? And I was telling them, like, stop asking, how are you? But ask them, how do you feel today? Because normalizing, there's an article that someone wrote, I forgot the name, about people's, now it's casual, I'm fine. You know, I'm fine, now it's very casual today. It's very casual today. I wanted to, hello everyone, this is Kawekwa Douglas from MindLyfe Limited. MindLyfe is a therapy organization. We're helping people to access professional mental services using technology, that is through your mobile phone and personal computer. I would like to bring in that aspect with Evelyn and Madinah. You've had the insights from Stella and Olu, regards to Olu, right? Olu. Sure. So I'm doing Olu. One of the things was about trust. You have over 1,000 counselors in the Uganda Counseling Association. We don't know how many are in working in the organization or the organizational counselors or whatever it is. But the thing of trust, and you know, because stigma, as we discussed in the last podcast, issue of stigma and all these other aspects of trust, people to get help. How do you see technology, teletherapy applications like MindLyfe or any other out there, or Zentel from Zambia, helping out to address these issues in the workplace, people to get professional therapy services in the workplace?
Yeah, teletherapy is an innovation. It's a new innovation in therapy, and it has been well accepted, and it's really helping a lot. For example, I work in the university. Some students who we give our numbers will tell you that I prefer we speak on phone. I prefer we do, audios. I prefer just we do WhatsApp or something like that. So it's good to have the avenues where people feel free. If someone wants teletherapy, I have clients I speak to in the UK. Maybe, people book and say we'll have a session, and we've had successful sessions. And if that's what someone chooses, even if you're in Uganda and there's a teletherapy avenue, that's very fine. But remember, we also have clients who say, no, I want to meet you in person. Because the truth is, the innovations are helping us so much, but the truth is the in-person, when someone meets you in person, there's a way in which they feel. So we are embracing both. If someone wants the in-person, let them come. But then teletherapy, the more it grows, the better, because people give, I've had clients who have booked sessions and then they have not turned up. And they say, Evelyn, I've not got the time. And then they say, how about if we just use teletherapy? And the client said, no, I want in person, individually. And then they'll delay with the issue. So I think the whole thing is making a lot of awareness so that people can know that they can access therapy in all ways, so that it's not only limited to wanting to meet a counselor in person so that you feel you're treated. So the innovation is really, really good, and we really embrace it. I, for one, I really like it because it also gives me a chance to work at the time that I want to work. I can see a client at 8 p.m. I can see them at 9 p.m. So it's a good avenue.
It's a good avenue for you.
Very good.
How about you, Madinah?
I would say the world is evolving, and therapy has to move with the trend. So if teletherapy is a good way, like it. If the client is comfortable with whatever works for him, I would say if they are okay and comfortable with teletherapy, I would go in for it. Because usually I have clients who opt for Zoom. Yeah, and who opt for phone calls, and they literally call in, and the session can go in for 1 hour and a half. So whatever works for a client, whatever makes the client feel safe,
Sure.
I'm in for it.
You do it.
Yeah, I would do it.
Because I remember 2022, one psychiatrist from the ordinary, they was like, these things don't make sense, these things don't work. And I was like, really? Yeah, because and then because at MindLyfe we do works in the workplace, in the communities, and the young people. And then when you realize most of the young people are actually embracing this. We have a club at Nafsusa Girls School. Actually, I was there yesterday, and next week we're having the career day whereby they still invite us. So when you're in the holidays and engaging these girls, and they recommend friends who are suicidal, you wonder how would you reach these people if it wasn't because of this? When you're having discussions with Dr. Nako, she was also sharing, like, remember in December she was sharing, like, someone wanted to bring a patient from Fort Porto to Butabika Hospital, and the issues, like, so, like, how do we bridge this kind of barriers for people to be able to get these services wherever they are? And from that on to ask Stella, we were talking about earlier about the government role in the role of normalizing mental health in the workplace, or generally, but specifically for the workplace. What do you think realistically is government? Yes, we've seen the campaigns, we've seen some of the ministers work with the Uganda Counseling Association and some of the awareness programs, but deeper, for this to change, like the Western world, for this to be like a mandate, what could be government's role, and how best can they engage in with regards to the public in this?
I think obviously the government is moving, but very slowly, towards understanding some of these issues. I know that recently a lot of companies have been developing their data protection policies, because now it's mandatory to develop that. Yeah. Now that means it's protection of information, and there's a law against that information leaking.
True.
So if you have someone who's, if you're in the workplace, he's attending mental health services, and you've provided them, that information should not be leaking. Yeah. So I know that that's something the government's tightened around, especially even with NGOs, ensuring that that information is kept safe.
Yes.
So we're grateful that that is happening in this space, because that provides some sort of protection. But at the same time, we want cross-party support. We want to know that when people are talking about what they're going to do in the next government, whether it's the opposition or the ruling government, they also talk about what mental health issues. So they won't just talk about, roads being built in Kapeka or whatever it is. They also say, okay, we know there's a mental health crisis. As a government, this is what we're going to be doing in the next 5 years. And they then put that as part of their campaign and ensure that it's also part of their budget. At the same time, if the opposition is saying, we're also going to be doing this, it becomes an issue. Yeah. Then it becomes important enough for the Ministry of Health to actually maybe increase the budgets for people like Evelyn and Madinah to do their work and increase their capacity. So we want those champions in government doing that work for us as members. As a country, in sitting wherever we're sitting. We want to know there's someone out there fighting for that as an issue. Yeah. And then saying that perhaps giving that space in Parliament for people to come in and lobby and set out what the issues are. Because we need to be informed about these things.
True.
A lot of people say mental health. But what is it? Exactly. What is it you're talking about? Yeah. Even the people you're asking to lobby, do they really understand it? It's several conversations down the line that you start to understand these things. So it's not just a one-day event or 1 week is mental health week, and then the Parliament is putting a flag up. You want someone to actually raise this on the floor of the House and say, I had a person in my constituency who died or who committed suicide. What is the government doing about A, B, C, D? Then someone will respond, because you're asking a question on the floor of the House. Whoever is responsible, Ministry of Health, will respond to that and say, this is what we're doing. Those conversations move policy forward. Yeah. And so the people in Ministry of Health and the policy side will start to develop policy that will have impact for employees.
And then it will come in generally to the whole country.
Yes, to become a norm. But you need to have those conversations and again. And as citizens, we need to be writing out those questions. It's a shame that a lot of us don't know that these are our parliamentarians, that we put them there. So we need to be saying, could you ask this question on the floor of the House? Yeah. You're allowed to do that and say, my neighbor has died. no one knew that he's committed suicide because of A, B, C, D. He did not. He was not able to have the services of a mental health advocate or a mental health, profession. So, what is the government doing about it? Now, because you're paying your taxes.
Yeah.
So then that question is asked on the floor, and the Ministry of Health is mandatory to answer that question and say, this is what I'm doing. Whether they've not done it, they'll be forced to respond on the floor of the House. Whether it's, and Hansard will write it down and we'll have an answer. And that's how policy develops. You ask those questions again and again.
Sure. Yes.
Stella eloquently has put it right, but that is, in my view, still trying to get to heaven. Let me bring the human solution that I think. You're right. Because a lot of people think parliamentarians are the ones that make road to their house, realizing that's what they're supposed to do, legislation.
Yeah.
Okay? Bring issues to them, discuss it, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, that's a highway to heaven. It's possible. You can get there, but I would love to recommend, I think, what we might need to do, tangible solutions. If we can create, this has nothing to do with the government, but in our own small way, each individual out there, we create safe talking spaces
I
for
agree
people.
with you.
Again, this is something as CSCA, the organization we are, that we work with. We've decided every Sunday from 2 p.m., let people come in, young people, and have conversation about any issues, right from why is Fanta orange? Why is an orange called orange? To do aliens exist? To whatever issue that sits in your head. Because mental issue, like you just said, mental issue is literally what bothers your mind. If you don't deal with it, the seed grows, becomes a tree, and you start running stark naked in town. It starts gradually. And overnight, people love to say, suddenly that guy went crazy. No, he didn't.
Yeah.
It's a process.
True.
It's a process. Another stuff is there's a book club, which I'm a member of, and it's an online book club, which is part of your tech stuff, because it's really hard where we're all running to see how to pay bills and whatnot. Sometimes it looks like 24 hours are no longer enough. Yeah. Poor God. It's like, man, how do I stretch this? So you need to figure out, what can I do within that 24 hours? So we have a book club whereby twice a week, meet online, like 5 a.m., really early, and have a discussion in regards to the self-help book that we're reading. But that creates a virtual space similar to your app that you're talking about, where people are able to discuss and engage. Because we are, whether we like it or not, we're communal people, biological beings. I'm actually going to say animals, but because we're biological animals, by the way. If you look at elephants, there are certain animals that move in communities.
True.
But because of this social, economic, capitalist program, we're all creating silos.
Exactly.
And everyone in their own little boxes.
Yes.
The colonial houses have walls bigger than the Great Wall of China. And all that kind of stuff. We're isolating ourselves.
Yeah. Until a problem happens, then you need everyone.
Yeah. And all those guys who are throwing kung fu kicks on the road, there are issues that are leading to that.
Yeah.
We need to create space right from the... in fact, I've been told a lot of men, some men, please don't come after me, don't go home because the house is too noisy or crowded. They come back home when the kids are sleeping. Like, okay, who made the kids? You did. But anyhow, so there are issues. We need space to engage, to talk, especially to younger generation. I'm a Ugandan, non-Ugandan-ish. But I'm told the youth population is about what? 40% or something?
70 to 70.
So if you just extrapolate that to reproductive age within the next 10, 15 years, population is going to explode. So you guys, the counselors, have your work cut out for you. We need to start talking to the youth. Have small families. Because what can you carry? No, I'm serious. Because to have 5 kids are great. But how are you going to feed those 5 kids? Yeah. Of course, your body can produce 12 kids. Yeah. Great. But how do you feed the 12 kids? Yeah. Then that leads to mental health issues. Then you complain your employer is not paying you enough. No one is paid enough, by the way. I can tell you that. Even I feel I'm not paid enough. So we need to let people understand, how do we get by day? That's mental health.
Can I jump in a little bit?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, sure. No, feel free.
Okay. So I would go to you, Ugandan policies. If we are to wait for Ugandan policies to be concrete or to prioritize mental health, then nothing will ever be done.
Sure.
So I'll go with Mr. Lu. I will agree with him. Yeah.
No. I think,
Yeah,
Madina, what I was trying to say was that you have to, it's a two-pronged approach. You have to do something in the political space. You can't run away from that. We can't always keep saying that, in Uganda things take forever. You have to have that going on, and at the same time, do whatever you're doing on the practical ground that you feel works, has quicker impact. But that those conversations need to keep happening there as well. Because if you don't, then, as a nation, we progress. So, and we progress by the institutions we've set up. Sure. Parliament is there to help us. So I always feel like people always say, let's not do things in that political space. Yeah. Feel that, we need, it's a two-pronged approach. Let's do it, let's hold this and let's do that. I totally agree. And the things that we can do, and when you have these conversations, you think, I don't know if you've been in the car in the morning and you hear a radio station call, there are these things where they say, this person has this problem, how do you deal with it? Yeah, and I think they're not dealing with it in a right way. And because, everyone's just praying out.
That's entertainment.
Hey, people say, Mugobe, Kolachi, and it's just like,
I don't know what that means, but I know it's around.
These are good spaces. How can we use them better? Yeah, because I'm sure you get so upset. You think, Kale, this is a big problem. How are they? Why are people just
around with it?
So it's and those are good spaces that we could use better and deal with. Men calling, actually, you find a lot of men calling in, and they're engaging. I find that interesting. It's men who are calling in a lot of the time and engaging with the radio. And maybe it's the fact that it's virtual, it's on, it's not face to face.
So the counsellor should start a program.
And I think those radio stations, you should say, can a counsellor come in?
I don't know if both of you live in Uganda at all. If you do, yes. Currently, there's some work being done. Okay. We are not as worse as we were 10 years ago. I remember when I was doing counselling, people even called and said, why are you doing counselling? What are you going to do? Where is the work? Why don't you do something in HR? Currently, people are realizing that they need mentor, especially the young generation, by the way. A person who is below 30 will easily walk to you to look for counseling than someone in an upper generation, because this is not something they have lived with. So there's work being done. I think for me, where I'm seeing where we're still we have not gone very well is the grassroots community. Mental health in the grassroots community is really lacking. In the corporate community, we've tried, because some organizations have gone ahead to hire therapists or counselors to go. Yesterday I was giving a talk in some NGO. They called us to talk to their workers because they were demotivated, they were what. So those ones who can afford are doing something small. It's not yet good enough, but in the community. So I agree with you, because for us to get the community, we need support from above, because these people in the community cannot afford to pay a counselor. Sure. So maybe if MindLyfe is going to do some work in the community, they might need support, they might need counselors, but the counselors may not come to work for free. So that means
that's one of the problems.
Not me, you won't. Otherwise, you're going to get your own mental health issues. But you got bills to pay.
Yes. True. So down here, we have not yet reached. So we need the political people to.
You need that political support to do those things for those people that are less privileged. There's always this gap. People don't realize there's a gap of you who can afford a service. You can go to a private hospital. You can do that. Then there's those people that cannot. That's why they go to Mulago or wherever it is. Now that's where the government comes in to support Mulago or support the regional hospitals. That's the same thing with mental health. It will be the government who will be able to support those that cannot. And that's what I'm saying. Don't leave them out of this discussion. So they'll be working maybe with the LCs or with the chairmans or whatever and say, but supported by the government.
Exactly.
That's how you get the full circle.
Yes.
That's awesome. And actually, this is strictly to Rotarian Chanjagoya about the dream of making a safe space for people to grieve and all that. I think this confirms your dream and what you want to do. It shows you that exactly what you think and what you want to do and what you believe you want to do has to actually happen. So as we conclude, I would like to have each one of us share any insight out there to the people of Uganda and out there about the employee mental health and the key insights, anything else you would like to share with them, so that this sparks the actual engagement of actively putting into practice the work that needs to be done for us to transform mental health in the workplace. I'll start with Madinah to say.
Yeah, I think I've been talking a lot about organization counseling. That's what I took. But also, they're not talking about the challenges as counselors we found there in organizations. And that also puts a gap in between. Wow. As a counselor who has worked in an organization, the employees normally do not come for counseling. As much as it is put in place, but they don't feel safe coming in because they think, as the counselors, we are going to take back whatever they have shared back to the what? To the managers and everything. So they do not usually show up. I have been in an organization for 6 months, and the only people that came to me were like 3. Only 3 in 6 months. So when talking about getting one-on-one on why these people were not showing up, like they don't feel safe. So usually you could think it is easy to create space for mental health, but the way you create it also matters.
Very key.
Yeah. It could be periodically. You could invest in a private place where these organization employees go to seek out mental health, but not in the organization.
In the workplace.
Or probably it could be periodically, like 3 times in a year, where someone can come in with a topic, then bring in group therapy. Probably it could be men alone or women alone, but the structure, how you do it, also matters.
Very important.
It's very important. Yeah.
Thank you, Madinah. That's a very important thing. To all the therapists out there, you know all this, and all the general public, this is one of the things that need to be addressed. It's a gap, it's an opportunity to provide value as well as to break the stigma and any other challenge about mental health. Yes, Evelyn.
Yes, I would just love to tell the audience out there that mental health is for everyone. We all can break at one point. I usually say that it's good to know that it's okay not to be okay. So sometimes we'll not be okay all the time. Neither shall we be not okay all the time. But seek for service. Speak to someone who is going to help you. If the person is not a counselor, at least they will help you to show you to go to one. Or maybe even your problem might be solved at that level when you speak to someone. Because usually when you internalize issues, they eat you up more than when you externalize them. It's like you have tried to release the tension from your body to be able to maybe survive another day or be able to work. So let's learn to share, to speak to someone and not die alone, especially in the workplaces and also out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. Mr. Olu?
Oh, well, since we're wrapping up, once again, my name is Olu, native of Nigeria, citizen of the world, the Ugandan with a green passport. In regards to this mental health conversation, I agree with all what has been shared today. And it's really nice. In fact, this happening now, Rotary continues to do amazing work. This happening now goes to prove that it's a concern, and in our own small ways, we can make a lot happen. True. Like you mentioned, Gloria has been instrumental, and it's something very dear to her heart. Yeah. And once you have that, you'll somehow start to gravitate towards people in the same path. You don't have to be a professional like these 2 amazing ladies here.
Sure.
We all have something to add. But of course, if you can seek professional help, please do.
Yeah.
But before this becomes such a massive problem that requires open heart surgery, so to speak, it can be dealt with. And that's the role we can play by having safe space for people to talk, not being judged by it, and just give people a listening ear and engage in conversation and see what happens.
Amen. Awesome. Yes, Stella.
Yes, it's been a really interesting conversation to have with 2 professionals, actually, and Olu, because it provides a space to talk, and I think these conversations should be encouraged regularly. I think because we know that, I think there's a statistic out there that 1 in 3 of us will have mental health issues at some point.
Definitely.
Yes.
And we know that we do not have those services in Uganda yet.
Yeah.
What we can actually do as citizens, as people, is to actively listen to our neighbor, to our friends, and and be kind. There's not, at some stage, that's all you can do. You actively listen to someone. Don't let it go through one ear and go out the next. So when someone says something, I've lost someone, actively listen and sort of see what are they trying to tell me, and be kind, do something about it, visit, call them, and that's what you can do as an individual. Sometimes you won't be able to access the services of you too, but let us help our neighbors.
Connect.
Thank you so much. And lastly, my name is Kawekwa Douglas from MindLyfe Limited, and we're grateful to MindLyfe Limited, Uganda Counseling Association, and Rotary Club of Kiwatule. Stay tuned for more episodes. Have a great day.